Different typefaces say different things about different companies. Choosing the right typeface for you or your client's logo design is probably one of the most daunting tasks, yet it comes so natural to a lot of us. I'm not talking just about downloaded fonts, I'm talking about when you hand letter an actual typeface. Which ones should we use for different kinds of logos? And what kind of typefaces are there that we can use? Now, there are so many different kinds of typefaces that we can use in logo designs that it makes us sort of overly creative. So we go ahead and break the rules all the time, and the problem is that we end up looking with something bad. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you some of the key fundamentals about typography and how you can use them to benefit your logo design. There are so many different kinds of typefaces that we could use in our logo design, so I'm going to just run down a few of them that are the most important. Serifs. Serif typefaces were made in around the 18th century as we know them today. So why is it called a serif typeface? Well, you see those protruding marks in the corners of the letter forms, those are called the serifs. They're added on there to give it character, but also I think so it actually marks as a grid or a border because it looks pleasing to the eye, and it helps us distinguish from very large print to small print which letter form is which very easily in our minds. There are 4 different categories to serif typefaces: old style, transitional, D-Done or modern, and slab serif. So old style serifs are actually one of the first kind of serifs that we use in the English language. These were used as what's known as the body text, and it still is used. Those are basically the old style looks that we used to see on like really old pieces of paper, like really old. Then we have transitional. The transitional serif is very much different to the actual old serif, only by the vertical stress points. By that, I mean on the vertical lines, you'll see that they are thicker than the ones horizontally, which is the way that serifs work. The vertical transitional lines are actually a lot thicker than the first old style serifs. That's what makes it transitional. Then we have the D-Done or modern serifs. These are the more modern ones that we still use nowadays, and they were made in the same time period as the transitional serifs. Again, the only difference being the extreme line variations or stress variations in the actual typeface. The horizontals are very thin whilst the verticals are very thick, still keeping those serifs on the side. The 4th category is slab serif. Slab serif is used widely today in newspapers, and you'll see them everywhere that you go. Slab serifs were used all on poster designs to grab the attention of people walking past them, and that's because again of the thick and thicks, but also because of their length as well. Slab serifs have been used differently nowadays in newspapers, but they still stand for the same thing. Now we have sans serif. The term sans, the French word, literally means without, and serif, which is taken from a Dutch word called schrift, means lines. So when you put that together, it is without lines. Now sans serif is basically a serif letter form without the serifs. If you go into any website now, you will see that most of them use sans serif because they're very easily read. Sans serifs were actually made at the same time period as serif type forms, or around about the same time period, but they were mainly used in the 19th century, and they were to emphasize points written on paper. This is where modern day typography comes into play, because sans serifs are a major form of the whole display fonts that we see now. There are subcategories to sans serifs, but we don't need to get into them because they're fairly known and you know about them already. Script typefaces have been about for a long time as well, but there are also some 2 different subcategories of these that I'm going to go into. First off, we have the formal script, which is done with penmans or master penmans, and it was replicating what they used to do with the thick verticals and the thin horizontals, following what they used to do with a dip pen. Formal script is great for elegance and also a superior look like weddings or when you graduate or something like that with a certificate involved. Then we have the casual script. Casual script is basically the same thing as formal script, but mainly done with brush pens or brushes. You see, a few hundred years ago, before we had computers, shop windows would be filled with these script letter forms, and they were done by people who were called sign painters. They would use their brush and they would use script, which is a great way of bringing a human element into it, and also just breaks down the type really well with sans serifs. So how do we choose between all these different typefaces? I know there are so many more different kinds of typefaces like black letter Gothic and stuff like that that's coming out, but I think that if you know everything about the ones that I've told you now, then you'll have a good firm basis for logo design. Normally you'll be using these typefaces pretty much all the time with your work, just in different variations. So which one should we use for different companies? If I was working for a funeral director, I'd probably use a serif typeface, probably the more modern ones. If I was working for a social networking company, like, I don't know, one that's gonna come out in the future, I'll probably use sans serif just because I want it to be a bit more fun, playful and exciting. If I was working for a children's nursery, I'd probably either choose a serif or a script, or a mix in between the both, and with a lot of colour. If I was going to work for a t-shirt company, I'd probably choose a script typeface, or I'll hand that in a script format so that I can have a bit more to play with, to show the elegance, to show the variety and the fluidity of the company. Different typefaces say different things about different companies, so it's so important to choose the right one so it fits with the company. Let me know your thoughts down below and something new that you've learned today. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you next week. See you later.